Mike Gill, moving into position. I'm not only going to explain it to you, I'm going to show you how they're moving. First, I want you to take you back to Play for Pay. In that video, it was a deposition of Julian Long. Don't miss the importance of what happened in that deposition. I explained how important it was, but Julian Long indicated the network of spies. And since then, all those pieces are moving. I'm going to take you through one at a time. But just know this. If what I'm saying is true, and I'm telling you it is, their movement supports everything that I'm saying. Now let's step through it one at a time and discuss each person that was mentioned in that deposition briefly. But let me tell you what it could have gotten us. Attorney Amy Miller, going through that deposition with Julian, where he lied multiple times how long he knew Miller for and what Miller was having him do. This is the same woman we failed to serve 16 times. And the reason for that is she is acting criminally. And from that discovery, the rest of these pieces had to fall. I believe that Amy Miller is a spy directly working for the insurers, which I believe is Liberty Mutual, as was Chris Driscoll. I also want you to pay attention to my deposition with Attorney Curley, when he singled out Miller and Ted Little to try not to make any connections, and now she can't be served. Don't miss the importance of this.
But now, if you're asking me, do I believe you have knowledge of these things? Yes, I do.
Not what I asked you, sir.
Well, that's what I'm telling you,
Are
sir.
you refusing to answer my question?
Your question is, as Mr. Little said your name directly? I don't recall.
Are you aware of any contact between myself and Mr. Little?
I don't recall.
Are you aware of any contact between Mr. Little and any other lawyer in this case?
I believe Mr. Little is the writer of those text messages saying that the case is being controlled. And when he brings out the fact that I'm filing a lawsuit on Wednesday, and he's right to the date. And when Miss Miller, who he suggests that is a spy, in a written request for her speaking to you, the defendants of Morris Mahoney, the lawyers, and of Peabody Arnold, that Miss Miller, in fact, was a spy. Now, Miss Miller, with two witnesses, you can smile all you want, but it's also the evidence that goes to the FBI, that an affidavit that she stated that if I told you what I spoke to with defending counsels, it would incriminate me.
Are you aware of any?
Now that's a real fact.
That's a dream, Mr. Gill.
No.
Are you aware?
Are you suggesting that I don't have that?
Let me ask a question.
Are you suggesting,
sir? I'm going to ask a question. We're going to proceed, or we're going to go to court.
We can do whatever you want.
Listen. Sir? This is my question.
No, I'm.
This is my. No, you're not giving me anything, sir.
Then I object. I object. Then you're not allowing me to answer the question.
You haven't answered the question today,
You're not allowing me to answer the question.
Mr. Gill, are you aware of any contact whatsoever between Amy Miller and myself?
I'm aware that she said in an in front of two witnesses that she said that the lawyers that defending Morris Mahoney and Peabody and Arnold, if she was to say what she has talked to you about, it would incriminate her. So I am standing on that exact statement.
And that's the sole basis for your...
I'm not saying sole. That's what you're getting.
All right. Are you aware of anything other than that, of any supposed contact between Ms. Miller and myself?
That's the reference she gave directly.
Okay.
Are you a defendant of
That's-
Morris Mahoney?
That's the sole basis for
Are
your
you a
statement.
defendant of Morris
Sir,
Mahoney?
I'm not here to answer your questions.
Well-
this is your deposition. You're here to answer the questions.
Good, I just gave you my answer. So yes, I believe you're involved. Yes, I believe that you are a defense attorney for Morris Mahoney. What she implied was the conversation she's had with the defense attorney of these cases would incriminate her. So would it incriminate you?
Okay, let's move to Friedman, who just got a summary judgment. Case dismissed. After 1 year of hearing nothing. Do you know why? Friedman could have given you the banking department. He could have given you the criminality of FRM. That's why he couldn't be deposed. And that's why he got a release. You remember it was Friedman who said to go to the FBI. Remember on the deposition, he called it the worst corruption that he's seen in 30 years, and he's referring to the State Banking Commission and its officials. This is why he had to be dismissed. Are you aware that the federal judge has immunity? So they can dismiss this with zero consequences, which is exactly the plan. But we go on.
Hey, Mike, John Friedman, got your message. Sorry I missed your call. You called on my cell and I was in the office, and so it doesn't ring through. In any event, I don't know about any meeting on Friday. It is not including me. I don't see any reason for delay. I don't know what Nick is thinking in terms of the delay. I certainly think that irrespective of the lawsuit, going to the authorities would be the smart move now.
You remember, Accountant Cohen was mentioned. How about he just got dismissed? He only had a forged tax return that would have incriminated not only him, but the DRA and the IRS. See? Friedman with banking, now Cohen with the IRS. All since Julian's deposition. Coincidence? I don't think so. Now let's go to Ted Little. Guess what? He was dismissed too. He's the texter who threatened to murder my children. He could give you the corruption throughout the courts. Why he has to leave. This is also the person who met with John Ross, with Wiggins and Norrie. You're going to see the forgery that Julian pulled out and had created for John Ross under Miller's instructions. Well, now Ted Little, who could have given you the state corruption throughout the courts, is now dismissed. See? They're blocking the exits, all after the deposition of Julian Long. Don't forget who Ted Little is. He's the texter that knows the inside corruption of the state, who's afraid for his life and to threaten mine. Attorney Bob Jutras, he was my divorce attorney. He worked closely with Ted Little. See, if you give Little off, you got to give Jutras off because he could give you the criminality in the case. No depositions. No one's going to hear this. We're just going to have a judge commit malpractice. Now I want you to read again Marisha Pursuto's notes that she gave to Morris Mahoney of all the crimination. She's now married to Bob Jutras. That's right. She's married to Bob Jutras. They equally know of the corruption. They put it in writing. And they're asking for a summary judgment. How's that for corruption? See, we were talking about the corruptions in the court. Richard Head, Assistant Attorney General. You remember, the dickhead who gave me the notes that explained the Ponzi scheme, that he should have stopped. Now he put in for a summary judgment after Julian's deposition. But you know what? I want you to watch a radio show on Grok Talk. We'll attach it, where I meet George Lambert, former state senator who was in on this plan with Richard Head to cover up the Ponzi scheme and put me to sleep at the same time. I want you to notice that Richard Head's summary judgment, shortly after that he disqualified himself. And shortly after that, FRM hearing was canceled by Chairman Hunt with no news of having the hearing again. Why? Because we caught him cold. And that's why Head's position has had to change. We've attached Richard Head's notes with banking attorney Donna Soucy. You get to read the incrimination yourself. One deposition, and look what's happened. They don't want to have any more depositions. Linda asked me to pay for all her expenses to come up here, to sue me. I agreed to. So you know what? They're not going to have any more depositions. Either is Attorney Barrington. Barrington's still working for them. You know why? Because his job's not done. Now Linda's putting in for, guess what? A summary judgment. They can't have this happen again. And what's the bet she wins? So Linda thinks her case is strong enough to get a summary judgment. See? Closing all the doors. Now I want you not to forget, as you look at the Morrison dismissal, these were attorneys that were working for the insurers and got caught. No doubt about that. They had conflict of interests. They had them from the beginning. They were trying to contain this lawsuit and cover it up. And Judge Sobel, 84 years old, with immunity. You see, what's the penalties? How's that? How's that for a cover-up? Just going to prep you for 1 minute. I would like to set this video up. I'm going into family court. That's right. I'm not letting them off the hook. What you're going to see is them quite literally trying to find out if I'm dying or not. You may find that hard to believe, but you watch. I want you to remember when you're watching this that we were in for an appeal. There was no reason to have a hearing. But why did we have one? Because they had an agenda. And when I tell you the agenda was about my health, you tell me if you hear it differently. What you have now is Judge Francois. The corrupt who have done work for me knew I was having health issues. The bastards think I'm dying. No, I'm not telling you I am or I'm not. But they think that I am. They're ordering me to have a life insurance. For all these years, for 20 years, I haven't been able to get it. The real reason is they want to turn around and find out what my health condition is. See? They're thinking this could end shortly. But that's why we're here today. What I'm going to tell Judge Francois is that this order was corrupt. And what he's done in this courtroom was corrupt. And I'm going to show him that I've sent this all to the Justice Department. We're not going to get justice in there. But we are going to turn around and document the injustice. You want these to go away? This is the divorce court. This is the biggest money maker they have. Mine cost me $5 million without an argument because we had to get statutes of limitations. That's what Ted Little's job was. And that's why we're in here now.
All right, Mr.
Gill.
Gill, you want to make is this an opening statement or what is this?
Yes.
Okay,
Right.
so let me swear you both. Each of you swear that any testimony you give today will be the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Okay, Mrs. Gill. Ms. Gill, why don't you have a seat? Mr. Gill?
Okay, Your Honor. Your Honor, I'd like to start by saying the whole divorce proceeding throughout has been criminal. And it turns out the Justice Department of the United States agrees with me. In fact, I have a number here for you to call if you'd like to. Okay? And your judgment as far as having me, now that my children are now over 18, my payments go up to $10,000 versus $75,000. That is incorrupt in its nature. I am telling you, we have 3 witnesses, past attorneys, and an officer of the court that are willing to give immunity right now and say what's happening here is corrupt.
Mr. Gill, the issue today is...
This whole order
the
is
issue,
corrupt.
Sir, the issue today
Right.
is life insurance.
And let me explain that to you,
So,
why they
actually,
want my life insurance.
Do you want,
They believe
sir,
I have a
sir,
terminal illness,
sir,
and they want to find
sir,
out if I'm
sir,
dying.
Stop for a minute. I will let you address the issue that was scheduled for today. Which
This is the issue that is
Sir,
today.
you have to stop for a minute. The issue is whether or not you have complied with the order regarding life insurance.
I am under...
However,
About the appeal?
the appeal is pending, so
Got it.
do you want to argue that today, even though the appeal
No,
is
I'm
pending?
uncovering the injustice that's happening here,
Sir,
and the fact
sir,
that
do you want to argue the issue of
I just argued
life
the issue. The
insurance?
whole thing was
Sir,
fraud.
Sir, do you want to argue the issue of life insurance today, even though your appeal is still pending according to you?
I want to make this clear. They had no reason to schedule this hearing. The judge himself is saying there's an appeal in place. So here's a question. Why am I in there? There had to be an agenda. Now, watching this video, do you see any other agenda about anything else other than my health? That's exactly why he's forcing that issue while he's saying it's under an appeal to cover his own ass. But that is exactly what is happening here.
Yes or no, sir?
I gave you my answer. My answer is the ruling was corrupt, obviously corrupt.
I'm going to have you limit your answers. If you want to raise the issue of
Fraud.
life insurance today, and if you do that, I'm going to let Ms. Gill respond to it. But I'm limiting you only to that issue. That's the issue for today. So limit your comments to the life insurance issue. Go ahead, sir.
Well, I believe that the life insurance is being ordered because certain attorneys that work for me knew I had physical issues. And that's why they're doing it here. Right now, I'm under a doctor's care, going through blood tests. Under that, they don't advise me to try to get insurance now, which has been the case all these years. It's funny she didn't come for a contempt order when the children were 18 and under, but she did when it's only her the beneficiary. What are they telling her about my health that is so important for her to have health insurance? Right? That's what it is. And that's what this court's trying to find out. Are we not aware that the DRA and Richard Head's trying to get a summary judgment to block me on all my properties? Maybe Miss Gill didn't know that. Then there'll be no money. I am suing Mrs. Gill. I am turning around handing this all over to the Justice Department.
What does that have to do with life insurance?
Because it's handled corruptly. I just explained it to you. That's what it's got to do with life insurance. It's based on fraud. It's based on my health. Are we not aware what's going on in this court with Judge McHugh? Are you saying you haven't seen that? You turn around and find out Attorney Richard Head trying to get a summary judgment without even looking at forged tax returns? It's being done in this court.
Mr. Gill, I've asked you 3 times now to address the issue of life insurance.
I told you I'm under a doctor's care.
Anything else?
That's it.
Okay, have a seat.
We paid together collectively approximately $5 million in legal fees over the 5 years that we were divorcing. And I would say that Michael, as well as myself, have had 5-star legal advice.
I hope you heard that. She just said, we spent $5 million for our attorneys. You know, the 5-star ones. $1 million for every star, I guess. She's part of the corruption, and they've got to protect her at this point, which is why she's leveraging them, which is why she even mentioned to the judge that they were 5-star. Have you paid anybody $5 million and liked them afterwards? Really? This is a cover-up.
So that's what brought that.
It doesn't speak for me, Your Honor.
Well,
I had a
speak for
bunch of
myself.
crooks.
I speak for myself. I also, let's see.
$5 million.
And my only other comment would be that if he chooses to continue to not pay life insurance, I think at the very least this court should award me the $250 a month that he would have paid, that he obligated himself to pay during the divorce decree, from the date of our divorce right through the length of time that he made the promise.
I want you to remember this. She was asking for $250 a month. I can't say I'm not touched by her concern for my health. But with that said, do you know how long it would take to get that $5 million back at $250 a month? 1,666 years. Right. Now you tell me why we were really at that hearing.
Okay, thank you.
make one more statement? You'll also go to the divorce decree and realize that at that time, that physically I wasn't able to get it, and they acknowledged it. So now that I'm 5 years older, I guess it's easier. And as far as the $5 million, I want you to think about that. $5 million it costs corruption. How many divorces you sat across for $5 million? She brought it up and you let her bring it up. In that deposition of Julian Long, I told you we caught them in that deposition. I told you the importance of Miller being that spy. Friedman would have given us the banking commission and the corruption with the Ponzi scheme. Dismissed. Little would have given you the corruption. Remember the text messages throughout the courts. Dismissed. Cohen, which would have led us right into the IRS and the crimination there. In for dismissal. Linda, the one mistake that they made by her leveraging Julian, and we opened all these doors. And let's not forget about our buddy Richard Head and Lambert. We just caught them in a cover-up of that Ponzi scheme, the AG's office, and Richard Head trying to shut me up by closing me up, and Lambert cutting a deal with victims to be silent so it doesn't go to Shaheen and Ayotte and the Banking Commission. I want to close with this. FRM, in the hearing, they had two choices, door number 1 or 2. One was to cancel the hearing at 10 p.m. that night with no answers and no questions. How's that for a cover-up? Yet they picked door number 1. Now let's look at Richard Head. Coincidentally, he's off the case. No, he looks like he's criminal in this. He chose door number 1. You know what door number 2 is? The outright corruption and identifying of our officials with this state, and the fact that they not only knew about this Ponzi scheme and the corruption of the state, they are it. Now that we expose them, take advantage of this opportunity. I'm asking you to fill out these criminal forms. Refer to this case number and ask them to investigate. We are over 9,000 downloads. My goal is to have 50,000 downloads and force the hand of the Department of Justice to take action. You see, there is a way to beat them. I've just given you the formula. I've collected all the evidence. It's indisputable. Now it's up to you.